Hi, folks. I lost 2 subscribers again in the last 4 weeks, who were bored of movies these days, ha ha ha. I know this feeling, because I began making videos in the days I lived in Savannakhet, Laos, giving information about life there. Most of my subscribers are those who appreciated those videos. However, I'm making videos about the street view in Tokyo after coming back to Japan. I'm sorry for saying goodbye to the subscribers. And I'm sorry for saying that I can't say hello to new subscribers, because there isn't, ha ha ha. I wonder if I said the same thing repeatedly in my clips for my age as 56, I'm sorry, but I soon forgot the previous remarks and I will say them again. I appreciate you for your patience with my repetition. Anyway, today I will introduce the street view to Asakusa from Ueno to you, which consists of 2 parts, the half of the end is to be continued next. However, the whole street view is included in this video. The next one will show you the scenery around Asakusa. I went to the temple of Sensoji from the back side of it, so you won't see the big red lantern suspended from the gate of Sensoji, which will be shown in the next clip. The reason I went there from the back is that I went to Kappabashi in this way to show you there, which is the street in which there are many shops selling cooking equipment. So, if you want to get a cooking knife carried on the torch of making the katana as a samurai sword, you should come there. The Ueno stations will appear in front of you, one is of Kaisei line and the other is of JR. The Kaisei line seems to be used by a lot of foreign travelers from the Narita airport, but most of them get out of trains at the previous station to Ueno called Nippori. I don't know exactly the reason, but I think that Nippori station gives you easier access to the Nippori station of JR than Ueno. In detail, there is a station between Ueno and Nippori called Museum and Zoo, but it was closed in 1997 for the reduction of passengers. When I was a kid, there was indeed the station, but I remember that the station was passed by the trains usually except on Sunday when many passengers get on and off to come to the Ueno Zoo and Museum. Coming to Ueno Park here when I was younger than a teenager being attended by my parents, I saw injured soldiers who came back from World War II in military uniform and who performanced with their instruments for some tips, though it was not less than 25 years after the war. I don't know exactly now, but they might be playing a fake injured soldier to attract sympathy for tips. Now, it has been 76 years since the war ended, they have disappeared. If it were fake, time wouldn't admit the trick. The JR Ueno station is located to the left of you and rails run over your head as you can see. I never remember a cheater robbing you of a 100 yen coin without coming here. The cheater shows you a yen coin on you pay for cut fruits price 2 or 300 yen at his fruit shop, as is often the case with foreigners who won't be used to the differences of the Japanese coins. Despite of they paid correctly, they can't say definitely they paid with 100 coins, and they wonder if they handed a 100 coin or only a yen coin, handing again a 100 coin taking a yen coin vice versa. That is to say, you got robbed of 99 yen by the cheater, who would get 9,900 yen a day, if he achieved the trick on 100 people a day. What a stupid business model it is. Fortunately, the shop was closed for a long time because of the virus, though not because of the exposure of fraud. I don't know if the fruit shop got bankrupt or not, but the cheater lost the occasion of fraud for a long time. You should go to the east from here to go to Asakusa, but I will turn left to swing by Kappabashi as I said before. If you go to Kappabashi, you would go to the back street of the Sensoji, of which a landmark is a famous red lantern suspended from the front gate, not a travel guidebook that doesn't say about the lantern. So, if you take this route and want to see the lantern, you should go around to the front. Kappa of Kappabashi means a mythical animal, so the illustrations of the kappa are seen here and there in the street, making you see how it looks. As I checked the origin of the name on the internet, there is nothing definite but 2 optional answers. One is that the lower rank samurai living there made the poncho called kappa in Japanese to make up their living expenses. The other is that the very kappa were often seen there. I think the former looks real, but the latter has fancy fun. Talking about the cooking knives, don't misunderstand that all knives sold in Japan are different from other countries, because those must be made over the same method of making the sword of samurai. A cooking knife is sold for only $1 at a dollar shop in Japan, which is made in China with machines, and even if its price is more than $10, it must be one the machine made much different from the quality of the sword. Even though we are Japanese, we all don't have the high quality knives taken up the way of making the sword, because of the precious price. You should regard the one under $500 as a crap one at least. However, the sword-like knife is very dangerous because the mistake cutting food means that you lose your finger, contrary to the mistake cutting with a cheap knife doesn't mean losing your finger but just cutting a part of your finger. Then I use a $20 knife. I have an experience of walking between Asakusa and Ueno with my kid, so it is not special in the distance, but you would be bored with the monotonous scenery of this long street. That's why I think that my videos need narration, though once I got to thinking that I wanted to quit adding the narration in my clip because nobody seemed to enjoy the narration, and also I am too lazy to make the narration. You might say that I should cut and shorten the footage to reduce the boredness, but I want to have you see the whole process to get there, that's why I don't cut it. Monotonous is not only the scenery but also David's voice, which is a synthesis voice offered by Windows, of which emotion is very flat. I want to add the narration with my own voice, but I have a Japanese accent which is difficult to make you understand, and I don't want the recording noise which is nothing on the narration by the synthesis voice. If you avert the noise on recording, you should do it on time of videoing, but I don't have such a skill to make and add narration on time. When I returned home, I had pain in my knees caused by pedaling for too long. There is 60 kilometers between Fuku City, which is my hometown, and Asakusa. Moreover, there are up and down in several parts of the streets. While sleeping after I got home, I suffered from not only the knee pain but also cramps of thigh muscle, so I stretched the muscle, getting cramps of the backside muscle against it. That was the very bad dream. It is a long way to Asakusa for a bicycle, especially my bicycle is a city cycle called Mamashari by Japanese, which is not suitable for long distance, and of course for my age as 56. The 80 kilometers is my longest run by a bicycle from Narita to Fuku 5 years ago, of which video can be seen on my YouTube channel. I didn't have any pain and cramps at the time. I wonder if the difference of 5 years is so effective. I saw a lady in her 20s in a clip on YouTube who challenged to run 100 kilometers on a bicycle called Mamashari in Tokyo. She looked not tired and of course had nothing pain and cramps, just said that the Mamashari let me a little bit more tired than the road bike, though it took longer time to move the same distance, if compared. You could become an agent of the CIA or MI6 or so on, if you saw the buildings were apt to be thin in Tokyo, which is called the pencil building by Japanese. Because Tokyo has a long history and lands have been owned by a lot of people to be repackaged into smaller sizes, since a lot of people came and gathered here rapidly in the Edo era. Actually, there are occasions in which such tiny lands are bought by a company to resell as one place of land, building a big one suitable in a big city, but usually individual landowners build the pencil buildings each. That is to say, the place as you can see a lot of the tiny buildings is where there have been a lot of people living since long ago. So, around Asakusa is also a place where you can see a lot of tiny buildings, which means the place where there have been many merchants and craftsmen living in Shitamaki as we call it, which means downtown of Tokyo. Shitamaki has a counterpart as Yamano, which means luxury places or snobbish, if anything. Here we are. You entered Kappabashi. I wonder if you can recognize a lot of shops that sell cooking equipment for professional use. I don't know of the same type of long street as Kappabashi that gathered the same type of shops. When I was a kid, Akihabara was the same type of long street which gathered the same shops as selling electrical parts and gadgets, but now Akihabara has been changed to sell something in wide categories, one of which is something suitable to otaku's taste, which means the freak having strong affection to characters of manga or animation. Akihabara also has many tiny buildings, so, when I went to play at a crane game shop with my daughter there, we were disappointed with the tiny inside of the shop not to play the game in a relaxed manner and with less options of the prize of the crane games, contrary to that there is a big crane game shop in Fuku City in which I live. The demand for bicycles has increased very much for the epidemic since 2020, which should not be said in your SNS, because Google is apt to avoid remarks without evidence about the epidemic in its search list, though it is only my impression. However, it is true that my blog has been accessed much less than the days before the pandemic. I made the mistake of talking about the pandemic as the same possibility as the death rate of influenza. Actually, the death rate is less than that of influenza in Japan. So, my remark is not wrong, if limited in Japan, but Google didn't admit the remark to be repeated by me in my blog site, reducing the index of my pages and access, as only my guess. Then I have a fear of Google, which has a strong power which can let you live or die on the internet. But, I have good news that my blog site has been getting more access from search sites such as DuckDuckGo and Bing, contrary to the decrease from Google. Such a remark can again make Google angry at me, but I can't stop it. As you can see, the Kappabashi is continuing longer, even if I am talking for a long time to synchronize with the end of the street. When I ran in the street, I didn't know that the end of the street facing on the street called Kodatoi running in the back of the Sensoji. That is, I thought the end was located before the street runs in front of the temple at least, so, I indeed turned right at the end of the street with my conviction I could get to the front gate of the temple, though seeing it was backside of the temple. I wonder why those shops selling the same category as cooking items do well without closing business because of hard competition. I have to end my talking about Kappabashi before it ends for the longer continuity, and I don't have the ability to extend the talk on the same topic. By the way, I had 2 cases to fight in court. One is the case to fight with my Laotian wife for parental rights, the other is the case to sue Fuku City to appeal compensation for the loss caused with injury in the swimming pool managed by the city. The latter has ended, but the former has not ended yet, though the battle with the city in court was begun 2 months later the fight with my wife began. That stands for the difficulty of divorce and the bothersome over it. Fuku City hired 9 lawyers. Contrary to that, I couldn't hire any lawyer at all for the compensation rate, that is to say, I battled with 9 lawyers for myself in a court. However, I could bring it into an amicable settlement against the 9 lawyers. My plan in the near future is that, living in the Philippines, the place can give me plenty of suggestions to make videos for my YouTube channel. But, I will go there 2 years ahead at the fastest, because I would have to nurture my kid instead of her mother by the time she enters middle high school. I suppose that my daughter will have a stronger intention to be with her mother according to her growth. This may be a pathos of the father who has a daughter. I want to erase such sorrow. That's the second reason why I planned going to the Philippines. However, there may be a case that my kid will want to go there with me. Of course I will agree to her will. Moreover, I have been convincing her to go there by the remark that you will have the advantage to make videos for your YouTube channel in the future. Yes, she wants to have her own channel on YouTube. But now she is saying that she wants to make videos with her close friends, then she doesn't want to be separated from them, much less going abroad. I suppose that YouTube will lose its popularity as the place to make money in the future, because competition has been increasing and faster transition of trend on the internet is usual. That's why I keep writing articles for my blog site, which produces $300 a month, aiming to make $1,000 a month there in the long run. Even if most people move to SNS oriented to the pictures on the internet, there must be a certain demand for the type of media. Though it is true that I have lost readers coming to my blog site in comparison with the past, reducing my earning there. Anyway, my blog is written in Japanese, sorry. This footage came beyond 10 minutes from the beginning, and most people who see my clips go out in 10 minutes, so I don't have to make narrations with some effort. The time has come to stop the narration and add BGM instead. Thank you for listening to Crap Narration.
그러지 않았나?